Now we have sound. We do have sound. Okay. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. And before you sit down, if the custos would like to come up onto the bima and swap places with Caroline. But Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Custo girls.
Do come further in the middle. Absolutely.
Mi shaberach avotenu ve'imotenu, Avraham, Yitzhak, v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah. Eternal One who keeps us alive and sustains us. You have sustained us these many years as a couple and brought us to this place in life's journey. May you look out with wisdom from the high ground of years of partnership and of love over the terrain of your shared life. May you gaze out towards the past and into the future with a heightened sense of God's presence as your guide. May you see that growth is not reserved for any one season, and that love and fulfillment are not the exclusive provinces of the youngest. As you celebrate reaching this moment, may you feel gratitude for the continuing unfolding of your life. And we say, Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God look kindly upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God reach out to you in tenderness and bring you peace in your lives together. Amen.
Amen.
You may kiss the bride, and you may kiss the groom. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zoechem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Achoni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitzachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Come, my friend, to meet the bride as we welcome our Shabbat.
L'chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamo v'zachor v'dibor echad, Yishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad,
bride, come in, O bride, for it is good to give thanks to the Eternal One, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High. Please rise.
continue together in English.
Come, let us bless the intelligence and order that fill all of nature, the laws by which evening twilight falls, the wisdom we perceive in the motions of the heavens, the understanding we can grasp of the way times vary, and seasons change, and stars and planets wheel by nature in their courses in the sky. Night unfailingly follows day, light fades into darkness, and darkness yields to light. Day passes and night falls, as our bodies and minds distinguish between day and night, while the hosts of heaven shine in splendor. We bless the glory of nature, which brings on the evening.
Torah to mitzvot.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך, בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, ושרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך.
Thank you.
are our loving God, the God of our ancestors. You set the journey of the soul and the cycle of nature. You are sacred, your name is holy, endowing us with intelligence, calling us back to you, repentant, forgiving us, redeeming us, healing us, regenerating resources, in gathering our communities, reinstating justice, subverting antagonists, rewarding the righteous, rebuilding Jerusalem, revitalizing us with redemption. Hear our prayer. Restore your presence among us, for our lives and our souls. Thank you. Bless us and establish everlasting peace throughout the world. May my words and my heart's longings fit your desires for me, Adonai, my rock and redeemer.
Please be seated.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם, בראית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל,
The Mishnah says, senseless hatred knocked the temple down. Not the Romans with their siege engines, or not only them, but our ancestors too, who slipped into petty backbiting, ignored Shabbat, forgot how to offer their hearts. We are no better, we who secretly know we are right, holier than they, who forget that a prayer is more than a tune, more than words on a page. After every shooting, parents weep, and we are too busy arguing motive to comfort them. Even now, what sanctuaries, what human hearts are damaged and burned, while we snipe at each other, or insist we are not responsible, or look away. So on this Shabbat, as we remember Srebrenica, and we will be talking more about that in our sermons, we say together, Birkat Shalom, the prayer for peace. Supreme source of peace, grant true and lasting peace to your people Israel. For it is good in your sight that your people Israel and all peoples may be blessed at all times with your gift of peace. We praise you, O God, the source of peace.
Ve'yigal kamayim nishma
May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. Peaceful thoughts stay with us throughout this weekend. Emanate out to our twin congregations who are with us this evening in Lviv and Lutsk. To those who have joined us, we've seen from the States and even a certain daughter joining us right now from Tel Aviv. This is about your third service tonight. This is really good on for you.
That's what happens when you let her go free. She goes to services. As those who are regulars will know, that it's been for many years our tradition to once a year remember the genocide and the massacre in Srebrenica. And our member, Jane Drapkin, has really been the instrumental person behind that. And so it's our pleasure to be able to invite her now to share a sermon with us.
I first spoke about the Srebrenica Genocide at a service in July 2018. I had recently come back from a trip to Bosnia with the organisation Remembering Srebrenica, where I first learned about the events in July 1995, when over 8,000 mainly Muslim men and boys were slaughtered in the municipality of Srebrenica in northeastern Bosnia by Bosnian Serb military and paramilitary forces with the backing and support of political leaders from Serbia. Since then, I have spoken every year around this time, during what is known as Srebrenica Memorial Week, to enable us as a community to commemorate the genocide, to honour the victims and survivors, and to make a commitment to take actions that will prevent such atrocities happening again. Each year, Remembering Srebrenica identifies a theme for us to focus on, and this year's theme is combating denial and challenging hatred. No small task. I'm going to focus mainly on the first part, combating denial. But before we get into thinking about this theme, I'd like to reflect on two things. The first is that the Srebrenica genocide has often been described as the worst atrocity to take place on European soil since the Second World War. And until the 24th of February this year, that was true. However, sadly, of course, with the Russian invasion and war of aggression in Ukraine, this is no longer necessarily the case. Of course, this is not a competition, but it is a reminder that we cannot sit on our laurels and assume that these events are just something that happened in the past. The other aspect that I'd like to reflect on is that in the same way that Holocaust Memorial Day on the 27th of January not only marks the anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau, but is actually a day to commemorate the Holocaust in its entirety. And Srebrenica Memorial Day on 11th of July similarly not only marks the Srebrenica genocide, but is also a day to remember all of the victims murdered because of their ethnic identity across Bosnia during the 1992 to 95 war. And it is important to remember this because today, in Serb-governed areas of Bosnia, survivors currently face enormous challenges in commemorating their loved ones who were victims of these atrocities. And this in itself is a form of denial. In Srebrenica, the current elected mayor is a Bosnian Serb who denies that the genocide took place. Not only that, but he, along with others, glorifies Radovan Karadzic and other political leaders who founded the Republika Srpska, which is the area of Bosnia founded on the principle of an ethnically pure Serb territory. Indeed, posters and banners are often displayed around Srebrenica that actually celebrate the genocide. One particular poster, displayed in the summer of 2018, declared that July the 11th was Srebrenica Liberation Day, celebrating the day that Srebrenica had been declared free of Bosnian Muslims, who before the war had made up 80% of the local population. Survivors of the genocide, on the other hand, have had to fight hard to find the remains of their loved ones. Victims had been buried in mass graves that had then been dug up and re-hidden, sometimes many times over, in an attempt by Bosnian Serb forces and leaders to cover up their crimes and contribute to the narrative of denial. Some victims' remains have been recovered from as many as 5 different grave sites. Other victims' remains are still yet to be found. As I mentioned, during the war, civilians were murdered across Bosnia due to their identity. However, this was mainly referred to as ethnic cleansing rather than genocide, a label that does not carry the same legal obligations on the international community as does the term genocide, but the atrocities that took place were indistinguishable from acts of genocide. This alternative labelling of events by the international community is also a form of denial. Some of you may remember the images that hit our TV screens and newspapers in August 1992, when journalists Ed Vulliamy, Penny Marshall and Ian Williams exposed the concentration camps in the municipality of Prijedor, with the iconic photo of Fikret Alic, the emaciated man standing behind a barbed wire fence in the Tronjepolje concentration camp. This was just one of many camps in the area, run by Bosnian Serb forces and accomplices in the summer of '92. The exact numbers of people that perished in these camps is not known, but is estimated to be several thousand. Today, the sites of these camps have been returned to their pre-war uses, for example, as factories and schools. Survivors have to seek special permission to visit these sites to remember their loved ones. And in Prijedor and in other areas across the Republika Srpska where genocidal acts took place, not only are convicted war criminals celebrated as they are in Srebrenica, but also memorials have been put up for the so-called Serb defenders that lost their lives during these times. However, no memorials are permitted for the non-Serb victims of this so-called ethnic cleansing, other than in Srebrenica itself, where a memorial centre and cemetery have been established to honour the victims and bury their remains. But this was only made possible by the intervention of the international community, in particular United Nations diplomats. But the glorification of war criminals and perpetrators of genocide is only one aspect of denial. The academic Gordon Horowitz interviewed women who lived in villages next to Mauthausen during the Holocaust. His findings were, as you might expect, that the women knew that something was going on. However, they had chosen not to find out more. They tried to distance themselves from what was happening. The reasons for this are, of course, complex, and the "what would I do if I were in that situation" question is one that I'm sure has troubled many of us over the years. But this is to demonstrate that denial is not the same as not knowing. Many ordinary people during the Bosnian genocide had the choice of whether to engage with what they knew or to distance them from themselves from this knowledge. Not so much I didn't know, as I didn't want to know. Another aspect of denial is to justify the actions taken. Bosnian Serb ideology promoted the idea that Bosnian Muslims were a threat to the Serbs, and that the only solution was to create an ethnically pure Bosnian Serb territory. This threat was portrayed as being so great that torturing, murdering, raping, and abusing Bosnian Muslims was justified. In other words, an ideology where the human rights of one group were deemed to be more important than those of another. An ideology that some, although definitely not all, ordinary people bought into. So clearly, denial is a complex concept, and not one for which we can only blame political and military leaders. But how do we combat this denial? I'd like to leave you with two thoughts. The first is that we support survivors to share their stories, to speak their truths. We rightly treasure and value our Holocaust survivors. Let's ensure we do the same for survivors of other genocides and atrocities. I encourage you to go onto the Remembering Srebrenica website and read some of the survivor stories presented there, or visit their YouTube channel, where you can find an incredible array of recordings of survivors sharing their testimonies. My final thought is that when we come across some sort of justification being given for the removal of or abuse of the human rights of groups of people, that we do everything we can to challenge this. And that when we come across information that we might find challenging or unsavory, we do not walk away from it, rather we walk towards it. That we make a commitment to ourselves that we will choose to want to know.
Thank you for helping us to remember Srebrenica, Jane. Thank you for always making sure that we do know and that we are able to remember. Perhaps it's one of the reasons why we have been so active within our congregation, with everything that is going on in Ukraine at the moment. Maybe it is why people have been so generous and have been able to seek ways to help, to support, to try to make sure that these things do not happen again. We now move on to our concluding prayers. Would you please rise? Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, la'tet gedula liyotzeh bereshit, asher sam chalkeinu li'ached et shemo, v'goralenu lahamlich malchuto.
Adonai, Melech Adonai, Malach Adonai, Yimloch le'olam ba'ed.
On this day, let us dedicate ourselves anew to the task that our ancestors tried in all their higher moments to fulfill, to bring nearer a time when all your children will understand that they are sisters and brothers, so that one in spirit and fellowship they may be forever united before you. Then shall your sovereignty be established on earth. Then those words from the prophet shall be fulfilled. We remember those who died in recent days, and we remember those who died in years gone by. From our congregation, we recall the names of Abraham David Gard, the father of Barbara Glynn, grandfather of Judith Pemberton Glynn, Philip Austin, and Sue Krasner. Frances Sacker, the wife of Tony. Gordon Conradi, the father of Richard. Jane Rayner, the mother of Jacqueline Newman. Margaret Dunn and Michael Fitzgerald, parents of Mick Fitzgerald. Sarah Wolfe, the mother of Alan. And Renee Jacobs, the mother of Diana Kraft and Pip Jacobs. Zecher Tzadikim Livracha. May all that was dear and good in their lives endure always as a blessing and as a continual influence for good. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mavarach le'olam u'lalmei amaya. Yitbarach v'ishtabach v'itpa'ah v'tromam v'yitnaseh. V'tada v'talei v'talal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela minko birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Da'amiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'al kol b'nei Adam. V'imru amen. May great peace descend from heaven and abundant life be granted to us, to all Israel, to all peoples, and to all those who mourn. Let us say,
Amen.
Please be seated. We have a really busy morning tomorrow with the bat mitzvah of Francesca Burl and also the last day of Cheder, who are going to be celebrating in special ways with me. We also are delighted that all of those going on Israel tour this summer with LJY Netzer are going to be filling our synagogue building over the weekend to have their orientation, to come together and be together as one and be introduced to many who don't know each other. Eliza is one of those who will be going this summer to Israel on tour. Anything else you want to announce?
I think that's enough.
I think so too. Thank you again to Jane. It really is, as you say, it's an honour for you to bring this remembrance to us, but it's also an honour that we have such members who are so erudite and passionate, but actually get up and act as well. Thank you so much for being who you are. We are proud of you. We conclude with these words. You're going to have to follow along a bit with the English, which isn't all written down in front of you. But there's some, as I was teaching the children, you can choose whether you want to la, da 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 da, nine and I, whatever you want in the middle.
Olam chesed yibam.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. So as we turn to our Kiddush, there's wine and juice, I think, for people in the congregation. I hope you have some at home as well. And we say, of course, a big thank you to our wonderful musicians as well. Thank you to Franklyn and to Lydia, to Eliza, and of course, as always, to Ruth.
For those of you who are joining us for the first time as well, if you wish to join Howard, who is already waiting for you in the Kiddush Zoom room, then you should have at the foot of your screen the link for it, so please do join him. And otherwise, if you would like to stand in the sanctuary, stand at home, you can dance or do anything you want at home, unless you're joined by Paul. Shabbat Shalom. Please do join together as we sing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzah Shabbat Kodsho, Yahava Uvratzon Hingilanu, Zikaron Lemahaseh Bereshit, Ki Hoyam Tehila, Lemikra Hekodesh, Zecher, Litziat Mitzrayim, Ki Banu V'chalta, B'yotam Shabbat Kodsha, Yahava Uvratzon Inhaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim.
L'chaim. And together we say, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
We say goodbye to those on our live stream. Shabbat Shalom, and join us at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Shabbat Shalom.